Do you remember this? Pro-choice protesters gathered outside the homes of Supreme Court justices after the Roe v. Wade decision was leaked. Attorney General Merrick Garland was questioned about why no legal action had been taken against him. Oh, roll that tape.
Have you brought a single case against any of these protesters threatening the justices?
Senator, you asked me whether I sat on my hands, and quite the opposite. I sent 70 United States Marshals.
Let me try again. Has the Department of Justice brought even a single case under this statute? It's a yes, no question. I recognize you want to give a separate speech.
No, I don't want to.
How do you decide which statutes you enforce and which ones you don't?
The Marshals on scene make that determination in light of the priority of defense.
The Marshals do not make a determination over whether to prosecute. You, the Attorney General, make a determination.
All right. Senator Ted Cruz, Republican from the state of Texas, joins me now. Mr. Senator, if the Justice Department has been politicized, as you suggest, what can we do about it?
Well, unfortunately, there are consequences to elections. And in this case, there are enormous consequences to Joe Biden being president, one of which is we have today in Merrick Garland the most political, the most partisan attorney general we have ever seen. Under Joe Biden, the Department of Justice and the FBI have been weaponized. They've been politicized. You know, I just wrote a new book called Justice Corrupted: How the Left Has Weaponized Our Legal System. And it goes through chapter and verse. It explains how that the politicization of the Department of Justice started in earnest under Barack Obama, and we saw the machinery of the federal government used as a weapon to target the enemies of the Obama White House. Under Donald Trump, much of that machinery burrowed in as hard partisans went to senior career positions and waged war against President Trump. And now with Joe Biden, they're out in the open, they're brazen. You know, yesterday, the Attorney General spent all morning testifying before the Senate Judiciary Committee, and he refused to give any straight answers to anything. What you just played there's a federal criminal statute. It makes it a crime to protest outside a judge's house with the intention of influencing a case. It's like jury tampering. You can't go outside a juror's house either. Night after night after night, hundreds of protesters, hundreds of threatening protesters went to the home of 6 Supreme Court justices, threatening their families, and this Department of Justice did nothing. And the reason they did nothing, the reason they haven't brought even a single case, a single prosecution, is Joe Biden and Merrick Garland agree with the protesters and disagree with the justices. And they're perfectly happy to have violent protesters threaten judges to try to get the rulings they want.
Yeah, Mr. Senator, the Senate voted unanimously to reject President Biden's woke investing rules. That's a huge challenge now for the president, isn't it? Well, I mean, that's a huge challenge.
So it is, and this is a rule that the Biden administration put out that would allow 401k plans and retirement plans to invest not based on where you get the best returns, but invest based on ESG, based on political objectives, and the consequences of that. I mean, let's bring it home to folks at home. There are roughly 152 million Americans that have retirement plans that are affected by this. Let me give you Bloomberg's analysis on the difference between an ESG retirement fund and a non-ESG retirement fund. According to Bloomberg, quote, global ESG funds have underperformed the broader market in the past 5 years, returning an average of 6.3% a year, compared with 8.9% for broader funds, which means an investor who put $10,000 into an average global ESG fund in 2017 would have $13,573 today, roughly $1,720 less than if they'd put it into a non-ESG portfolio. So you want to talk about impacting folks at home. This is your retirement that Joe Biden has said his politics matters more than your retirement, and he's perfectly happy for you to take the hit. The Senate stood together with a bipartisan vote yesterday and reversed this and said you ought to be able to save for your retirement without politicians impacting and hurting your savings.
Senator Cruz, thank you very much for being with us this morning. We should enforce the principle that the government has no right to tell me or anybody else where we can invest our pension money. Mr. Senator,
Amen.
Thanks for being with us, sir. Appreciate it.